Is it on? Is it ready? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee for your time. I'm here today requesting that legislative audit do a special report that would include the following items. And I'm just going to summarize because I know you have that letter in front of you. Number one, I'm asking, and Representative Hodges and Senator Sullivan as well, and I'm sorry, Senator Chesterfield as well. Thank you for coming alongside, ma'am. I'm nervous, especially being such greatness here. Right? Okay, sorry, thank you. I had to have some levity. All right, so for bullet point number one, I'm asking, we are all requesting an audit of the expenditures, basically how much money is being received in regard to these entities. Bullet two, again, is looking into the contracts and how they are entered into. The third bullet is looking at a review, asking for a review of the procurement process, taking a special attention to the ESSERS funds that are being used to pay for professional development and so forth. And then the final one, and I'm going to go ahead and read the final one because I really wasn't sure how to best condense that. A review of expenditures, including books, curriculum, trainings, and conferences made by employees of the Arkansas Department of Education, education services co-ops, public school districts, and public institutions of higher education, in cases where those employees are also employed by Solution Tree, Inc., or any company associated with it, or in cases where employees received any personal compensation from Solution Tree, or any company associated with it. We have visited with legislative audit staff to how to narrow the scope a little bit better, to answer some of those questions, and we're happy to do that, whatever makes it work best for them as they look into this. And if Representative Hodges or Senator Sullivan or Senator Chesterfield want to add anything, would love to have them do so as well, obviously, if that is okay with you. Thank you.
Senator Chesterfield, you are recognized, ma'am. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's like Old Home Week. I used to be a part of this executive committee. Thank you for all you do. We have a private company that is amassing a great deal of money in the name of advancing the education of our children. Over the last several years, I continue to ask for summative evaluations of their work. And for those of you who don't want to deal with EduCont, there is a difference between a formative and a summative evaluation. We continue to hear about, oh, they're really doing a great job. But I can't find out how many children have moved from, or how many school districts have moved from an F school to a C school, and yet we're expending millions of dollars with Solution Tree. We need to know specifically where our public dollars are going. We can't look at their private money, but I think we asked for an Attorney General's opinion some years ago as to the ability of us to follow the money that the state of Arkansas spends with private entities. And this would be a great example because school districts are using them. I continue to ask, is Solution Tree the cause of this, of some of these school districts making great grades and nobody can tell me? I just think it's important that the people of this state know where the money's going, to whom it's going, so that we can get a better understanding of why we are expending so much money with them and is the money being well spent. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Representative Hodge, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Sullivan and I chair the co-chair of the Education Audit Subcommittee, and so I kind of just wanted to add a little bit of information here about the request. I know if anyone, some members, especially if you're not on the Education Committee, you might not be as familiar with the company, but the state entered into a no-bid contract with Solution Tree back in 2017, and the company essentially provides professional development resources for teachers. And so we've had the state contract with Solution Tree since 2017. Initially, that contract was for $4 million. As they've added cohorts over the years, I believe the contract with the state's now up to $16.5 million a year. And again, that was a no-bid sole source contract. Several months ago, as a committee member that's been following this somewhat closely over the years, my understanding was they had the state contract. That was the only thing I was aware of, really, that the company, as far as their involvement with the state of Arkansas. But a few months ago, we kind of became aware that they were receiving payments not just from the state or the Department of Education, but from education service cooperatives, school districts, and higher ed institutions. And so once we became aware of that, I don't have the legislative audit's resources, but once we kind of started looking at the bigger scope here, we found that they've probably received somewhere close to, or maybe in excess of $140 million, which was far more than I think we were aware of. And so that's really the intent of the audit, especially in the first point. We're just trying to ask for all expenditures to Solution Tree or any companies associated with them, because we know that they do own other companies that are doing business in the state of Arkansas. So we're just looking for all those payments to these different institutions at the state level and down to the district level. As well as on the second bullet point, we're asking for, and we talked with Audit about this particular request, but if there's a way of narrowing the scope on this, we're happy to work with Audit on that. But because of the amount of money that's been spent, we just want a better sense of the contracts that have been entered into with this company to kind of get an understanding of how those have come to be. And then third, and this is something Senator Sullivan and I came across in our subcommittee, one, we just want to know in general our procurement process is being followed in the business being conducted with Solution Tree, but particular attention on these ESSER funds. We had a school district in our audit subcommittee who told us that Solution Tree had been encouraging districts to use ESSER funds to pay in advance for professional development services. And in talking with audit staff, we believe that might be in violation of our procurement policies. And I've seen Solution Tree's websites, they openly market encouraging school districts to use ESSER funds to pay for professional development in advance. So that's one thing in particular that we're wanting to look at is our rules and procurement rules being followed, in particular when it comes to those ESSER dollars, because I suspect a lot of the money that's been spent at the school district level was the federal ESSER funds. And so we just want to have a better sense of how that money was spent and if the rules were followed. And then finally, the last point may be a little confusing, but essentially we know that this company hires school district personnel to be consultants or write books or different things like that. And we've seen in other states, occasionally, in some cases, those employees might have a conflict of interest where in their position at a school district, they might be buying books or curriculum or having employees at the school district attend Solution Tree conferences and making those decisions and using school district funds that benefit the company that they're also working for. And we have specific examples from other states where that's happened. So I know we might need to work with audit staff on identifying some of those individuals. We've found some of them ourselves. There might be others. We might have to work with the company to get a better sense of how many people we're talking about in the state of Arkansas. But looking at expenditures with the company and seeing if there's any potential conflict of interest. To our knowledge, they're not breaking any laws by hiring school personnel, but we want to pay special attention to make sure that if there are school district resources or education cooperative resources that are being sent to these companies, that those employees are not also working for the company, looking for those potential conflicts of interest. So that's kind of the few 4 or 5 points we're asking for. Trying to kind of narrow the focus really down to those financial questions just to get a better sense of, at the State Department of Ed level, the Education Service Cooperative level, the school district level, and at higher ed level, how much money are we spending with these companies and how many companies are there? And I would lastly say that I think we especially need audit's help with the higher ed piece because we've been able to find some financial records, but because higher ed's separate and not in the same financial systems, we haven't been able to get a good sense of the spending on the higher ed side. So happy to answer any question. Senator Sullivan wants to add anything.
Thank you, Representative Hodge. Senator Bryant, you're recognized.
Yeah, I think my question might be for staff or for procedure, but or maybe for Representative Duke, Senator Chesterfield. When a school gets the funding from the state, or a co-op gets funding, do they have to go back to the state for permission to enter into these contracts or make the state aware? I'm looking at this from a global view of how do you audit each without auditing each? Because that's something that the Department of Ed can just be at the table, or every school and every co-op in the state have to be at the table.
Ordinarily, we would be able to find that information, but this has become such a varied group of entities that it's very difficult for us to follow where that goes. And I think that's why this is critically important, because the tentacles, when it was first introduced to us, it was never said that the tentacles would go into co-ops and higher ed and into school districts for funding. We entered into a contract for $4 million, and it was supposed to provide professional learning communities training for teachers. That was it. We did not know that they were going to call on co-ops to provide money. We didn't know that the school districts were going to have to kick in money. We didn't know that higher ed was going to have to kick in money. That's why this is such a different kind of animal than we have traditionally dealt with. Because if we don't know, and I'm learning more and more every day, my major concern, as you know, is the education piece. Did it move the needle for kids? But I also wanted to know, where's the money going? And to find out all of these tentacles that we are coming across is really very disturbing. And so it will be up to audit to some extent to narrow the focus if need be. But I think since all of them have state money, co-ops get money from the state, higher ed gets money from the state, secondary elementary get money from the state. All of this is our money. So we're going to have to figure out how that tentacle reaches out into all of these areas, and is indeed our money being spent as it should be.
Senator Payton, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't know who can answer this, but I'm curious as to whether or not Solution Tree is an Arkansas company or any of its affiliates. Are they incorporated in Arkansas?
Well, I know they have an office on 6th and Spring. But it's not an Arkansas company per se, but they do have an office here. And they have come to rest here quite a while, and so I'm sure that they are, well, I can't be sure of that. I don't know if they're licensed, and I would assume that they are, or we would not have entered into a contract with them. It's been a while.
Would that affect our jurisdiction in any way?
As far as if they're an Arkansas-based company or not, that does not affect jurisdictions based on the public funds and the expenditure. I mean, that could be a barrier in getting all the information we need. It just depends, but something we'd have to evaluate at that point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I can answer that I believe Solution Tree is based out of Indiana, and other companies like Marzana Resources, I think, is out of Colorado, but to my knowledge, none of them are incorporated or headquartered here.
But they all are part of the same company, and I think that's what's so interesting, because we weren't aware of the Marzana piece. You know, we're doing business under various names, and yet it's all a part of the same conglomerate. And so so the more we find out about the various tentacles and the various things that happen, I think the more the state needs to know about this particular entity.
Senator Sullivan, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate what the senator is saying. That's exactly right. Transparency is what this is about. We don't know if it's legal, illegal, who owns them, how our money is spent, but that's the number one responsibility of the legislature, to know how our money is being spent. And once the transparency is out there, then we can make decisions as to if we need to dig deeper. And I think as a group, the committee that we chair, we're very willing to work with Leg Audit to make sure we got something manageable. So if we need to scale it back and do small pieces at a time to see where that leads us, we're very willing to do that. And I assume this is going to be a lengthy process. So we'd like to pick what the most important pieces are, because in just a few months, we're going to be voting on their funding. And if we dig into some things that we find out we're not comfortable with, then the legislature needs to be aware of those things before we start funding that $4 million or other parts of it, whatever that part is. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, are there any other questions? Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Representative Hodges, Senator Sullivan, thank you for your committee's work. Representative Hope and Senator Chesterfield. I tend to notice when we have 7-figure things that are questioned in this committee, and 8-figure things come up, I get questioned, but when Representative Hodges said 9 figures, I really woke up, and the thing that Senator Sullivan just said about us going into fiscal session and looking at $100 million perhaps. Maybe it's not, maybe it's way less, but boy, this thing sure has grown. They must have put a lot of Roundup on it real quick to make it, I mean, not Roundup. Well, you know what I mean, fertilizer, Miracle-Gro. That was the one day. Thank you. But this is extremely concerning because of the dollar amount, and I'm sure, I mean, I think that teachers helping teachers and learning community, that's all wonderful and all that, but you just wonder how in the world it could grow like this. And I love the word tentacle that Senator Chesterfield, that's what it sounds like. So if it's needed, I don't think it would be dearth of that, Mr. Chairman, but I would have a motion at the proper time if needed.
Thank you, sir. Representative Rye, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, something that Representative Grant brought up, I called, services rendered and payment before the service was rendered. And I think that's something that we really do need to look at, because I've never, ever known anything that was legal that was paid for before you actually perform the work. So, Representative Grant, appreciate you bringing that to us. Thank you, sir.
Members, are there any other questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion? I have a motion by Senator Johnson. I have a second by Senator Sullivan. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And it has been approved.